I've been learning a lot about myself as I get older. I think that's kind of part of life, you know? You grow, you learn. It's just human nature or whatever. Your brain growing, whatever. But also, like, my parents tell me a lot about myself, my childhood, and things as I've gotten older, which I suppose in some cases is probably a good thing they waited to tell me till I was older. I don't know what it would have done to my mental had I known some of the things I know now, had I known younger, or had I known earlier in my life. It's not always about me. Sometimes it's about my family, cousins and aunts and uncles and, you know, people I grew up with and thought I knew well and then realize you don't really know anything about them. They my family has a good reputation for keeping secrets, I guess. What I'll go with is they just don't share a lot. My family does not share very much with anybody for that matter, but especially not us kids. And like I said, for good reason for a lot of it, I feel like there's good reasons for a lot of why they don't talk about things like finding out that a few of my aunts and uncles on my mom's side of the family are or were drug addicts. You know, kind of ruins your perception of these people that you thought you knew. And granted, I'm a lot older now. When I found out about some of these things, like my aunt, for instance, when I found out about that, I was probably like 14, 15 or something. And so it wasn't like world shattering. Like it didn't, completely change everything I thought I knew. But it definitely opened my eyes a bit to who these people are. You know, my uncle, same kind of situation. I found out about his drug addiction when I was still decently young, probably teenager or so. And granted, these are on my mom's side of the family, so for one, it doesn't really surprise me that everybody on my mom's side of the family is messed up in some way, shape, or form. It kind of just runs in the family. So it wasn't very surprising to me to find out, the family tree on my mom's side has a few broken branches, a few dead leaves, you know. But it is interesting, I suppose, to learn. And I'm not very judgmental, you know. I don't really care what my family does, and I don't really see any of them or talk to any of them ever, anyways. So it's not like it's a big deal. But I don't know. I guess it's just kind of fascinating to me to learn so much about all these people that I thought I knew. You know, like my aunt, for instance, the same aunt that I'm referring to, my mom's sister. They've never had a great relationship. You know, growing up was fine. Like I knew my aunt, I knew my cousins decently well. We didn't really do family stuff together. Like I've never had a family, you know. We don't really like each other. Is my impression of the whole thing. So everybody's kind of always kept their distance from each other. You know, I don't even want the crafting table, honestly. You can keep it. Everybody's kind of always kept their distance, kept to themselves. We would come together for family reunions and holidays occasionally when my grandma was still alive and stuff. And it was civil, you know. We kept the drama outside of the family dynamics usually. And my grandma passed away, and the whole mom's side of my family kind of split apart. Like, I don't think I've seen my cousins in probably like 10 years. Maybe a little sooner than that, but the last time I spoke to any of my cousins, well, that's great. That's okay. Awesome. Awesome stuff. That's fine. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So yeah, I haven't really spoken to any of my mom's side of the family, I should specify, in a long time. I haven't seen my aunt in who knows how long. My uncle passed away earlier this year, and I didn't even go to the funeral. Granted, it's kind of this mix between I didn't really want to go, I didn't really get the opportunity to go. Nobody really asked me, like, hey, did you want to go to your uncle's funeral? And I don't know if I really was wanted to go because, like I said, we have this kind of disconnect on my mom's side of the family. I don't really know where it stemmed from. I think probably just years of disagreements and not getting along, and maybe something to do with my brother living at my aunt's house for a while after she moved out and the drama that came with that, but I don't know. I wasn't old enough to know. I was not in the loop for all of that information, and it's one of those things we just don't really talk about. We don't really talk about why mom and her sister doesn't get along anymore. And that's fine. It's fine. Like I said, none of my family really gets along with each other. I could have lots of family all in the same city and I would have no idea. For that matter, I think I do for that matter. Don't think I don't think my cousins or my aunts or anybody are very far away, but we don't speak. We don't link. We don't click. That's the word I'm looking for. We don't click. Our families just don't really click with each other, and they never really did. And things kind of only got worse as we got older. But I guess at least now I'm older, I understand it better. You know, I understand some of the reasonings behind it all to some capacity. Not everything. Not everything needs to be understood for that matter. But it's definitely interesting to me. You know, I'm not much of a people person, so I'm not much of a family person, so it doesn't really bother me not having to go to family reunions. You know, I used to hate it when I was little. We'd go drive up to whatever city, stay in like log cabins or something. It's been so long if I could even remember, but I hated it. I always hated it. I always hated having to leave home. I think it kind of is just rooted from my natural homesickness, my inability to leave home. Been working on it for a long time. Long time. Been trying to get over that whole issue, but I digress. It is what it is. But it's interesting just learning more and more about my family. Like, on the other side of the spectrum, my dad's side of the family, we've always been a bit closer compared to my mom's side, I should say. Like, we still get together for holidays, and we don't really do family reunions necessarily, but I suppose it's because we get together for holidays that we don't really need to have a specific reunion to get everyone together. And as far as I know of, there's no like bad blood between them. You know, if people, okay, so it does work. It does work. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. Good. As far as I know of, there's not any bad blood between my that side of the family, or not much. Not between aunts and uncles and cousins and things. Like, we have one family set of cousins that we don't see very often, but it's because they're so busy all the time. It's not because they don't like us, at least as far as I know of. It's not because they don't like us, it's because they just have a lot of other stuff going on, and good for them, you know? That's awesome. Everybody else seems to get along fine, good enough, except for my grandpa. And that's something that I recently learned this year, as a matter of fact, or I guess technically it was last year. Last year, this time, when my grandma's birthday came up and we all drove down to go see her, which was the first time I'd seen my grandma in probably like 12 years, because I kind of separated myself from the entirety of the family because I hated leaving the house so much, and I would get such terrible homesickness and regular sickness that I just didn't want to go see any. I didn't care enough, and I regret it a lot because I'm getting older now, and I guess my perception of people and of the world has changed a lot, and I care about people now. I care about my family now. As much as we don't, I say as much as we don't get along, it's not that we don't get along, it's that we don't have the same interests. We don't have the same personalities and things like that. And I mean, do you ever, you know? It's not expected. And that's kind of the fun of talking to my family, and just talking to people in general, is that it's different people who don't like all the same things you do, and opens up your mind to new experiences and new things, and learning about things you may never have, or whatever, you know? It's cool. It's whatever. It's not like when I was a kid and the only thing that I cared about is the fact that I wasn't going to be home and I wasn't going to be able to hang out with my friends or talk to anybody I know. I was going to be stuck in a different city to see my family who don't really care about anything that I care about and don't really talk to me or whatever. And when I was younger, that mattered a lot to me. I cared about that a lot. Now I'm older and I'm like, these people aren't going to be around forever. You only get so many opportunities to go and see them. Just appreciate it for what it is. I wish I would have came to that realization a lot sooner when I was young, but it is what it is. It's different now. I'm trying to make better efforts to make time for the people in my life and my family and things like that. Especially my grandma. She's getting so old. I feel bad that I spent so many years just not going and seeing her out of whatever selfish reasons I could come up with. But like I said, that's in the past now. It's fine. Make up for it with the time I have now. But when I went and see my grandma last year, or the whole family went to go see my grandma last year for her birthday, we ended up having a lengthy, maybe lengthy is not the right word. It wasn't like a super long conversation, but we had this nice conversation about my grandpa and why everybody in my family hates my grandpa. Like, hates him. I don't even remember how it got brought up, but I guess for a little bit of backstory, the house I'm currently living in with my dad was the childhood home that I grew up in, basically, for, well, yeah, basically all my life. And when we moved in here, my grandpa and his wife were supposed to come and help us fix it up and put it together and replace all kinds of stuff and yada 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 yada. Long story short, it never happened. They never came back to help. I don't know the full context behind it. I don't really want to ask my dad because I don't want to have him have to dig through old annoying memories. Like, he gets frustrated when he talks about this stuff. And understandably so, because they kind of shot him in the foot, to put it simply, and just screwed him over. And now we live in an unfinished house with a lot of issues, to put it simply. A lot of issues. That's why I am so desperate to get out of here. Much as I love it for being my childhood home and things, there are problems that we don't need to dive into. But point being, I don't remember how the conversation came up, but I remember my aunt, the face she made when she said, "Oh, you mean the one we don't speak of?" And that's how the whole table of my aunts and uncles and everybody all refer to him. It's the one we don't speak of. Nobody likes my grandpa anymore. I don't know if it was always this way. I don't know if it's because he raised them with an iron fist. I've never really heard any stories of my grandpa being like abusive or an asshole or anything. I know I know from my dad that he was in the Air Force or the military of some variety, and they moved around a lot as kids from military base to military base, as you do growing up in the military, whatever. But I've never heard any stories of him being like a bad dad or anything. I guess I've never really heard stories in general of him because he's the one we don't speak of. But on the other side, flipping back to the spectrum, my grandma was extremely abusive. My grandma, pardon my French, but my grandma was a bitch. Like, bad. Like, like somebody should have called CPS because the household that my mom grew up in was not for the faint of heart or head, for that matter. I've heard so many stories of things being broken over people's heads. You know, um, my mom's two favorites that she loves to talk about, and maybe because it's the most traumatizing, I don't know, but she loves to talk about when my mom or my grandma smacked my mom upside the head with a cast iron frying pan, and another one where she broke a mirror over my mom's head, shattered the glass just straight over her head. I don't remember why. I'm sure. No, I can't say that. There is never a good reason for physical abuse, and especially not of that kind or that much. Never a good reason for that. Things can be handled like mature adults, no matter the age. Doesn't matter. But my mom grew up to completely forgive and forget, or I guess not forget, but she loves my grandma so much, and may she rest in peace. I love her too, but she was an evil woman. I I say that with the most love in my heart possible, but my grandma was a bad lady. She was a bad, bad woman, and you did not want to be on her bad side. But it's all love. That's my mom's side of the family. There's a lot of messiness over there. That's what it's just been interesting to me that somebody who is regarded by probably the entirety of my family. Like I said, I don't really talk to my mom's side of the family at all. None of us do. We are all pretty separated from each other. But I think you could ask anyone in my mom's side of the family, any one of her sisters, any one of my grandma's sisters and brothers and everybody, and they would probably all say the same thing about her, about how mean she was and how, you know, cruel she could be. And once again, there's no excuse for that. It is due to the broken home that my grandma herself was raised in, coming from a military family on her side, I believe. I do know my grandma was abused in her youth which then translated to her abusing my mom and her sister. And thankfully, that ended with us. Thankfully, there was no further abuse from my mom. My mom is a good woman. Love my mom. I love both my parents. I love my whole family. I'll talk down on them, and more so, less talk down on them, more so point out their imperfections and flaws, and I don't know. It is what it is. Everybody's flawed. Everybody's got their issues, so by no means do I mean to be like disrespectful by saying things about them and like talking about their issues or whatever the hell. But it is just fascinating to me how everybody loved my grandma. She was the glue that held our family together on my mom's side of the family. She was the one that brought everybody together for holidays, family reunions, everything. She was her. It was always her. Oh my, not again, man. Made it so far that time. We made it so far that time. All these stupid holes. Anyways, everybody loved her. By the time she passed, everybody appreciated her for who she was and kind of forgave her for what she did to everybody. But my grandpa, whatever it is that he did, and I still am not convinced I have the full story, because the things I heard from my aunt were not like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, everybody in the family should hate that guy, what a dick. Like, it was annoying. Like, I don't know, I don't really even know where to start to get into it. It was this whole story of when a few of the family members were staying at my grandpa's house, and like he had this super strict schedule and like routine that he wanted everyone to follow and whatnot, and it's just really stupid stuff. But it was not anything to be like, yeah, the whole family should just cut him off completely. So I'm sure there was a lot more to it that I don't remember or that I wasn't told. That's fine. But it is fascinating to me how the well-documented abuser that was my grandma is the angel of my mom's side of the family. Everybody loves her. Everybody loved her. Still do. Everybody misses her dearly. And I guess that makes me the odd one out, because it's not that I don't miss her, but it's not like there was much to miss. She was never very nice to me. She was never the stereotypical, you're not eating enough, feed you, spoil you. She was never that kind of a grandma to me, or my brother for that matter. I remember another story my mom loves to tell when my grandma came over. Don't know what she was mad about, but my brother answered the door to her, and flat out, I don't remember what she was mad about. She was mad about something. She wanted to come in the house, and my brother told her, Grandma, if you don't have something nice to say, then you can just leave. Something along those lines. I've heard this story so many times from my mom, and it's different every time, but that's the gist of it. And in response, my grandma backhanded him, and like hard enough that he fell to the floor. And he was probably like 6 years old when this happened, because I wasn't old enough to remember. So either I wasn't born yet, which means he was anywhere between, well, 0 and 2, or I wasn't old enough to remember things. So he was, between 2 and 6 or something. 2 year difference, yeah, somewhere around there. So like a little kid, and she slapped him across the face hard enough that he fell to the floor. But that's my grandma, and everybody loves my grandma. She's the best, and she was so pure-hearted and loved church and could do no wrong except for all the years of abuse she put my family through and the constant screaming and yelling at me and my brother and the speeding and the reminders that if I don't brush my teeth, I'm gonna live under a bridge like my mom. And so like I don't get it, I guess. I guess I don't get it. I don't get how I guess how you can rewrite your image in such a way, or I guess it's just the power of forgiveness that, that everybody can look past that and just be fine with it. And I guess maybe I just never gave my grandma enough time while she was still alive to forgive her for the things she did and the things she said to me when I was a young child. And it's not like I think about this stuff all the time, but I can't help but wonder if my sense of lack of a sense of purpose and identity rooted from the idea that I was never going to be good enough for my grandma and that I was always just going to be a letdown no matter what choices I made. She was never going to accept me for who I am. And maybe that's why I constantly am trying to reshape myself into being the perfect person that whoever comes across me needs me to be, instead of just saying, hey, this is me, no mask, accept me for how I am or don't. I will change and I will put a new mask on and I will say, oh, you don't like that nerdy side of my personality? Don't worry, it doesn't exist anymore. You'll never have to hear about it. I'll be whoever you want me to be as long as it'll keep you around. I wonder if that's where it comes from. I wonder if that's what I need to go to therapy for. Maybe maybe they have those kind of answers, but the problem is when I want these answers, I don't want help. When I'm sad, I don't want to tell anybody. I don't want to and go to a psychiatrist or a therapist or something because I'm upset, I'm unhappy, I'm in a bad mood, I'm in a bad place, I'm questioning my existence, I'm questioning my purpose, I'm questioning reality. I don't want to talk to anybody about it. But then when it's a good day, when I'm not sad, when I am not questioning everything around me and myself and wondering if I'm destined to be a nobody forever, like my grandma said I would be. When I'm having a good day and none of that's going on, I don't need any help. I don't need psychiatrists or therapy or anybody. I am good. I'm happy. I'm fine. Everything is awesome. It's just weird. It's weird. Very weird. There's a hole in the roof, and when it rains, it's too wet to fix, but when it's sunny, there's no need to fix it, you know? Just kind of drifting, staring at the stars through the hole in my roof, and thinking maybe someday something's gonna fall out of the sky and patch it all up and everything will be fine. I mean, it's what's happened before. What's gonna stop it from happening again? But I don't know. Time doesn't work the way you want it to, and things don't happen as quickly as you hope they do. If they did, I probably wouldn't be here talking about everything that bothers me and everything that's wrong in my world and in my life. I'd probably be happy. I'd probably be doing anything else. I don't know. I wouldn't have anything to complain about if things worked out the way I wanted them to. If time was on my side, things worked out in my favor, I wouldn't be here questioning my purpose again, or questioning my existence, or wondering who I'm supposed to be at the end of the day. I I don't know. I don't know. Probably just be happy. Maybe. But even then, will I even be happy? If everything that I want to happen happens, will it really bring me the happiness I think it will? Or will I just find new problems in paradise? I mean, for instance, right now, the same things I've been complaining about for like a month now. I have all this free time. I have all this freedom. I'm in paradise, other than all of the things that are currently going wrong, that have been going wrong forever. But besides that, the big picture, I should be happy. I have all this time in the world to do whatever I want to do. I can, I'm free. I'm finally free. I have no responsibilities. I suppose it's a mixture of actual freedom and just not really caring about the future that leads me to feeling so free. Because if I feel like I'm giving up and I give everything into hopes and dreams, then I don't have to stress about the realities. I've given up on the realities. Yet, here I am, miserable, every day. I spent my whole weekend pacing around in the dark, crying, yelling, screaming, questioning, what do I do? Where do I go? Who am I? Who am I supposed to be? Does it matter at the end of the day? Am I ever gonna go where I hope? Not if I spend my days pacing and screaming and crying and kicking. That's not gonna lead me anywhere. But I don't have the energy to do anything else. I don't have the willpower left in me to do anything else when it all feels so worthless. So what's the point? What's the purpose? What do I do? Where do I go? Who do I tell? You know? Who cares? For that matter. Like, I'm just screaming to the void and waiting for it to yell back, hoping something's gonna change or something's gonna happen, or I don't even know what I'm waiting for. I don't know what I'm hoping for. Just the hope that something will happen in general. The hope that my life will not be in vain and that I will not be wasted away in this little room that I've built, or this little prison that I've created for myself with no means to escape. Who knows? I guess that's life. It's just figuring it out, hoping for the best and accepting the worst. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out next time. Thanks for listening. I love you.